What's up, YouTube? Duvnak95 here, and coming at you with the broadcast number 9 analysis for Clear Lakes 44, and once again it's from the perspective of the Birdwatcher storyline. And I will preface this video by saying that yes, this video came out early in the afternoon on Thursday this time, and it's very late right now. It's like almost 2 o'clock a.m. where I'm at. And the reason for the delay producing the video, because normally I watch the video a couple times and immediately record. Well, I watched it and I didn't feel like I could take it all in, which, trust me, is a good thing. But I also got to feeling pretty ill this evening. Nothing too bad, but enough to deter me from getting the video out very quick. So if it's a little bit late, I do apologize. But trust me, I think the quality of this one and the analysis that I will deliver will be worth the wait if it does take long. But I'm going to try to push it out. So regardless, here we go. We open up this time in the Birdwatcher's home again. He hears a knock at the door, goes to answer it, and the camera does the normal transitioning, but it also looks outside, and you can see a man standing there, a little bit older, probably around 50 years old, and he comes inside at the invitation of the Birdwatcher, of course, and they begin to talk. And before that happens, I do want to mention that the normal trippiness ensues. We see a dark background with a really bright light, and there's a shadow there. And the shadow is of a skinnier man, so likely not the Birdwatcher, but possibly the doctor. The right height and everything. I think there's just maybe some teleportation going on, if that. So, moving on. They get into the conversation, and it mainly is about the condition of our Birdwatcher, how he's been doing. There's an investigation mentioned, and he says that there really hasn't been any progress on it in about 5 to 6 months. And the doctor, which we find out is a doctor as we go along here, mentions that he thinks it's been longer than that, and that either the Birdwatcher is in some sort of state of denial over whatever this investigation is, or that he's losing track of time, which the Birdwatcher claims the latter of the two. So moving on from that, they continue to talk. He notices that he's under a lot of stress, the Birdwatcher is, and he asks if he's taken his advice to do the bird watching, so we know now that the origin of the bird watching is from the advice of the doctor for some reason. And he, of course, has been doing that. We've seen him with his notepad, which we now know is where he draws the birds he sees, and he's also been reading literature on it as well. He has Noah do one of his drawings, and he's very stressed as he does this. And then he goes into a conversation about all the images and things he's been seeing in the past couple of Birdwatcher videos, where we see him transported. We see the black figure with the dot eyes. We see the blinding light, and he mentions that he can hear voices through the light, or not through the light, but when he is in there, and his leg, which clearly gives him problems, feels absolutely fine. And the doctor is, of course, convinced as an outsider that none of this is real, it's all hallucinations. But he does say that he hears voices, and we get a little bit of distortion at that moment in time as the camera shifts, of course. And he asks if they could be her voices. Very big point I want to talk about there in just a moment. And he absolutely flat out denies it. It says, no, not possible. And the doctor prods him a little bit, but doesn't pursue too much with it. Anyway, we wrap up. He writes him a prescription for a light sleeping medication, and the doctor leaves his home. And you know, he seems friendly, but a little bit condescending, kind of like any doctor, I suppose. But regardless, he requests that the prescription be delivered to his home because, again, he can't leave for whatever reason, be it out of fear or out of just a disability to leave his home. But regardless, the doctor leaves, and the video ends with Noah, or no, excuse me, the Birdwatcher, I apologize, going to lock his door and staring off into the distance in his home before walking back to his living quarters. So, where do we begin? Well, for once, even though we do get a little bit of trippiness in the video, we get exposition. Yes! I've been waiting so long for something that starts to give me an idea of how things piece together, how these loose little narratives are going to come together. Now, of course, we don't have enough to tie it in to our walker, but I do think we have enough to start to piece together a theory, at least, for how this could relate to Marble Hornets. Because, as you know, Marble Hornets, the website, marblehornets.com, has been related to Clear Lakes 44 since day one. And the most immediate tie that I can find to it is the investigation. And that is a quote from Birdwatcher. We see on the homepage to the Marble Hornets website that it's under investigation and to contact the admin, D. Scott. So I'm calling it right now, even though this isn't extremely likely, but I believe it's the case. D. Scott is the Birdwatcher. That's how I'm seeing it. I believe that the investigation is underway by him, and for a reason that I'm going to expound upon in just a minute. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at the conversation with the doctor as it progresses. We know that he's experiencing supposed hallucinations and things that don't seem possible, but we know, of course, living in the world that we are, because Tim is a part of this universe, that these things are very much possible. And the unawareness, I guess, of time or possible denial is definitely something that in Marble Hornets you would see day become night instantly and that sort of thing. So there's another possible tie in there. But I think the most interesting thing is the mention of her, an unnamed female character that has some sort of relation to the Birdwatcher. And immediately when you hear a female character, you automatically think of Jessica from Marble Hornets, the character that was featured the most out of any female character in Marble Hornets, and you think that, oh, okay, maybe he has a connection with her. Maybe her disappearance, or just whatever happened to her between the hotel entries and the final entry of Marble Hornets. Maybe he's been investigating that in relation to Marble Hornets. That's what you would think right off the bat. But if you take a look at it, you really don't know, or let me rephrase this. How would the Birdwatcher know that Jessica, even if she was a close relative, a girlfriend, anything like that, how would he have any idea what Marble Hornets is? Is there any way? If you know a way that's possible, put it in the comments, because off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. However, there is one character that I do believe has an easily recognizable connection to Marble Hornets, and that would be Amy, Alex's girlfriend, who, of course, met her demise, as far as we know, sometime in the timeline of Marble Hornets. Perhaps that is the person that he's searching for. A relative, a friend, who knows. And the reason that she would be so easily connected to Marble Hornets, she was dating the director, and if she was around some shady guy like Alex, who's, you know, kind of awkward in some ways, kind of nerdy in appearance, but of course had a horrible dark side, would you not be a little bit suspicious? Would you not dig around into the things that he was involved in if Amy did disappear and she has some connection to the Birdwatcher? If this is connected to Marble Hornets, like I do believe it is, with all the hints we've been given, I think that is the most likely thing to occur. So I am going to lock in that theory right now. Of course, if you have anything to rebut that theory, put it in the comments. I'm glad that we're finally to a point where we can start to discuss things like this, because it's been far too long. 8 videos up until this point, now 9, where we had no measurable way of creating a logical theory. Now we have something. We can start speculating. We can start to piece things together just a little bit. And I'm sure as more videos come out, we'll see more and more things unfold. So as far as this video, the only, or the final thing I would like to address is, of course, the cameras, which, of course, change perspective throughout the video from inside the home and even to outside the home very briefly to show the arrival of the doctor. So I was beginning to entertain in my mind the idea that the cameras are really not cameras, and this is just how we're seeing things. But of course, a couple of things, just reminded me that, like, there really are cameras. The static, of course, and the fact that we had in the first video the Clear Lakes, we're always with you, or whatever it said, reliable, dependable. Someone is putting this together, and it's being archived on the Marble Hornets YouTube channel, something that was very much real in-game for that series. So something is behind this, but until I have a better understanding of what that is, I think I'm going to stop bringing it up so much in my reviews, because that's really all I've had to talk about in some videos, especially like the last one and the one before that. Like, nothing happened, so I had to go into that. So until something more definitive or highly suggestive comes about, I'm going to stop mentioning that. So I think I've just about wrapped it up for that video. I'm excited for the next one, and I hope you are too. I hope you post your comments with theories and any questions or criticisms you might have for me. Thanks so much for viewing. Give this a like because you know you enjoy this analysis, and if you don't, of course, explain why. So subscribe if you are new, and I think that will do it. I cannot wait to see you next time, and hopefully we will get some more much-needed exposition in the future.